Amber's mother left her when she was 5 years old, and she never seen her father. Amber was raised by her grandmother, who scolded her for even the smallest things: torn pantyhose, a broken cup, a smudged dress. But the more Amber was beaten, the more she became a bully. Amber became a troublemaker among the town children, and all the local adults called the girl a good-for-nothing. At 16, Amber fell in love with her neighbor. Kenneth was already 18 years old and was the son of a local electrician. The girl was waiting for him near the cafe on the river, at the gate of his own house. When Kenneth's mother saw Amber near the house, she always drove her away and shouted that her son didn't need such a good-for-nothing friend. When Kenneth went to the army, Amber ran after the train and shouted that she would wait for him. Time passed, and finally Kenneth returned from the army. The very first night, Amber sneaked and climbed into his room through the window, stripped down to her panties, and dove into his bed. Kenneth had just had time to hug Amber's thin waist and hold her close to him when his mother, hearing suspicious rustling, peeked into his bedroom. The woman was shocked and slapped the girl several times with a towel. After that incident, Kenneth's father got his son a job as a driver, and the guy was constantly supervised. Then 2 months later, news swept through the town. Kenneth was getting married to Camilla, who was the prize of the town. Having heard that, Amber simply disappeared from the small provincial town, and for about 10 years nobody saw her. Only Amber's grandmother received a small remittance every month and sighed with relief that her granddaughter was alive. Amber only came to the town when her grandmother died. All this time, life had not pampered her. Amber moved to the big city, got married. A few years later, her husband died when they had a motorcycle accident. Amber had a miscarriage, and the doctor said she wouldn't have any more children. And now, having buried her grandmother, Amber was going back to the city when she suddenly saw a girl about 5 years old and a boy about 8 years old running past her house. They were in dirty, tattered clothes, scruffy, uncombed. Amber went outside the fence, called the children, and asked where they lived and where their parents were. The children pointed in the direction of a neighbor's house and said that their father was at home, but drunk, asleep. Amber shuddered as if she had touched something hot with her hand. With a trembling voice, she asked where their mother was and why she would not make them wash up. The little girl answered in a thin voice that their mother had gone away, and her brother, scowling glumly, added that she had abandoned them all. Amber took the children into the house and washed them both, then darned their pants and took them to Kenneth's house. The woman barely recognized his aging mother, who had once chased her away and beat her with a towel. The elderly woman almost cried when she saw Amber. "Amber, how glad I am to see you. I'm sorry for your loss, but as you can see, we also have problems." Camilla left Kenneth and the children and followed her lover. Kenneth had been looking for her for a year, but she'd already moved 3 lovers. She doesn't even think about her children. So we live like this. I am widowed, and Kenneth is alone. The elderly woman cried bitter tears and begged Amber's forgiveness for past offenses. Amber immediately hugged her and told her that she was not angry with her. Then she asked how long Kenneth had been drinking. When she found out that it had been almost 6 months, and that he was still working, Amber thoughtfully replied that it was not yet hopeless. At that moment, Kenneth came into the room. On seeing Amber, he immediately sobered up and for the first minute could not say a word. A month passed. Amber took a leave from work and stayed at her grandmother's house. She spent her days at Kenneth's house, where she cooked, took care of the children, put things in order, and during the month, Kenneth never touched a drink. He even spoke softly, as if he was afraid to scare away an unexpected guest in his house. And then one evening, Kenneth bought a beautiful ring and a bouquet of flowers. When he came home, he was very embarrassed and told Amber that he could not undo the past and erase the pain he had caused her many years ago. But now he was even ready to take the moon out of the sky to make her happy. He took out a box with a ring and proposed to Amber. The girl smiled and said yes.